안녕하세요 여러분, it's your Korean Sam, and today's video is a follow-up of the last one. So in my last video I taught you 3 ways to exaggerate in Korean, how to say things like really or so. And those are the basic 3, like elementary. But today we're gonna dive a little bit deeper and I'm going to show you a lot more ways you can exaggerate or emphasize something in Korean. I'm doing this partly because I got a few comments in the last video saying, like, what about this? Or can you talk about this? So this is me responding to the feedback and I have some really great ones for you today. Some are like proper Korean and some are a bit more casual, a bit slangy, something that you might not learn in textbooks. So if you really want to take your Korean to the next level, I think this video is going to be great. So let's dive right in. The first one we're going to look at in this video is a pair, and that's 정말 and 참. 정말 was the one that a lot of people mentioned when I talked about 진짜. So 정말 and 참, they both also mean really. And they're used in the same way. It's an adverb and it comes in front of the descriptive verb. So you say things like 정말 배고프다, 정말 좋다, 정말 예쁘다. Or you can just switch that for 참, 참 예쁘다, 참 좋다. And what is the difference really? Truth be told, when they're used as adverbs, they're pretty much interchangeable. But the slight difference between 정말 or 참 and 진짜 can be seen if you look at the antonym. So the opposite of 진짜 is 가짜, and 가짜 means fake, as in like a fake ID, 가짜 신분증, or maybe like a designer bag that's fake. 이건 가짜야. So it's something that can be used as objects that are like imitating something else, but it's not the real thing. Whereas for 정말 or 참, the opposite of that is 거짓, which is false, not fake. So if you see the subtle difference, false or 거짓 is more for like a lie, when someone is telling a lie. Not used more so for objects, but whether or not something is telling the truth or not. So those are the subtle differences, but when you're using it to like describe a descriptive verb like 좋다 or 배고프다 or 예쁘다, they all mean pretty much the same thing. Now, before we go on to the next word, let me just say that for all the words I'm going to use today, they're all adverbs and they all come before the descriptive verb. So unlike the last video where we talked about 죽겠다, there's no fancy grammar involved in any of the words I'm teaching you today. They all just come before the descriptive verb. That being said, let's move on to the second one. The next word we're going to look at is 엄청. This is a very casual word. It's not used in like formal written Korean. So when you're just, making conversation, you can say 엄청 to mean extremely. So 엄청 배고프다. And pardon me if I'm using the same descriptive verbs to use as examples. They're just the like really common ones that come to mind. I hope that's okay with you. Anyway, 엄청 배고프다. 엄청 예쁘다. 이거 엄청 비싸다. So expensive. 사람이 엄청 많다. So many. So it just means extremely, but a little different from the word really. Even in English, like really and extremely. A little bit different, but both are used for emphasis. So we talked about 정말, 참, and 엄청. Let's look at the next word, and that is 굉장히. 굉장히. Now this is an adverb form of the word 굉장하다. And 굉장하다 is a descriptive verb that kind of means something is amazing. It's a pretty positive word to say something is like excellent or amazing. So if you want to use this as a descriptive verb, you can say something like 실력이 굉장하다. His skills are excellent, amazing. But to make it an adverb, we say 굉장히, and then you would use that to modify another descriptive verb. So something like 굉장히 빠르다. 인터넷이 굉장히 빠르다. The internet is really fast, like amazingly fast. 굉장히 많다. 굉장히 맛있다. So basically it also means like extremely. The next word we're gonna look at is 매우. 매우. And this kind of means very. I'm trying to find equivalents in English. So 매우, I would say it's not more like extremely or tremendously, but it's just very. And it's used a lot more in like a somewhat formal context. So it would replace things like 진짜, unwritten Korean maybe, but it can be used in conversation. So for example, if you had a really good meal, you could say, 매우 만족스러운 식사였어요. 매우 만족스럽다. 매우 아름답다. Things like that, it just means very. And the last words we're gonna look at in this video are not grammatically correct. So these are super conversational and casual. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be teaching this in like a student-teacher setting, but I think if you want to learn the more like casual Korean, these are pretty good words to know. So the next word we're gonna look at is 겁나 or 겁나게. Again, it's used in the same way. It modifies the descriptive verb. So 겁나 맛있다. 겁나 빠르다. 그 사람 돈이 겁나 많아요. So 겁나 is actually not grammatically correct, technically. And I think it comes from dialect. But if you look at the meaning, 겁 is like fright. And 겁이 나다, it means to, be frightened by something. If you look at the literal definition, when you say 겁나, it's like frighteningly. So it's like frighteningly yummy. And that doesn't make much sense, but it's a word that we use for emphasis. Obviously, you don't use this to someone you're being respectful to or in written Korean or anything. This is just between very close friends where you can be a bit more comfortable. So if you're a beginner, I would suggest kind of putting this off until your Korean is a bit more advanced, because if you use this in the wrong context, it could kind of give off a rude impression. The next word we're gonna look at is 완전. So if we look at the examples first, again, it's used in the same way. 완전 맛있다. 완전 예쁘다. 완전 빠르다. And again, this is very casual, conversational, definitely not used in a formal setting, and technically it's grammatically incorrect. So 완전 means complete or whole or perfect. And if we were going to use it in an adverb form, it's supposed to be 완전히. But in casual conversation, people just say 완전 instead. Again, it's just casual. Definitely not textbook Korean, but just something that's good to know. And that's all I have for today. This was a bit more comprehensive than the last video, definitely for a bit more advanced learners, I would say, but I think today's list was also pretty useful and a lot more practical if you're into like the more real life, casual, informal kind of Korean. Again, I want to emphasize that these are not standard Korean usages. If you are just beginning, you can just watch this video, but don't like take it too much to heart until you feel like you're at a more comfortable level, because I don't want you to use it in the wrong context. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to your Korean Sam for more Korean videos, and I'll see you in the next one. 다음 영상에서 만나요.